Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So a couple of days ago I had a really nice comment on one of my videos from Two-Wheeled Willie, and he said, I love what you're doing on the channel. So firstly, thanks Willie for the compliment. I love the fact that you have any bike on there, whether it's 125, whether it's an established brand or a new brand, Chinese motorcycle, just keep doing your thing. So I was encouraged by this comment, and I thought, as I came up to Midwest Moto today to take one of the bikes out, I had a look round, and by chance they actually have a Zontes 125cc motorcycle. So 125s are pretty cool actually, because you can use them for commuting, if you really have a short distance to work, if you're in an urban environment. You can use them for doing deliveries. If you don't want a scooter, you want something more of a big bike feel, they're just perfect for that. But you can also use them if you're a beginner rider and you want to learn the roadcraft and then step on up to something with more power. So the problem is though that you can end up spending $4.5 to $5 grand on maybe a Honda or a Yamaha 125, when perhaps this is a bike that you might end up dropping if you're brand new to riding motorcycles, and that's just part and parcel of it really, is dropping a bike or slow speed mishap, shall we say. So why spend that much money when you could get a 125 for 125 like we've got behind us for $3.5 grand, and the performance is within the same envelope for whatever 125 you get. You're looking at sort of 60 mile an hour top speed, maybe 70 at a push. So I'm going to take this bike out today and we're just going to have a bit of fun. It's a 125, it's just going to be easy riding really. There are some interesting things about the Zontes. It's only 150 kg, which is great because when you've got that little power, weight becomes a bit of a deciding factor. Low seat height, 780 millimeters, so anyone will get on it. That's nice to be able to flat foot a bike when you're riding for the first time, and it just gives you more confidence. It's got handguards and crash protection all as standard, so that kind of means that if you do drop the bike, you're not actually going to damage anything important. You're just going to basically knock this, and even if it did fall over, there's just a piece of rubber on the end there. That's going to be fine. You've got discs up front, and this is one of those bikes that is a kind of a nod to an off-road machine. Got semi off-road tires on there, spoked rims. But interestingly, they're actually tubeless because the spokes are external to the rim. They're not hidden by the tyre. So the thing about that is, it means that if you do get a puncture, it's repairable on the roadside, which might be an advantage depending where you ride this bike. So I'm just going to jump on. Let's have a look. Whoop! Oh, here we go. Of course, being 150 kg, that's fully fueled with I think it's a 12 litre tank. This thing's just well easy to manhandle. So, look at it. It's of diminutive proportions, but I've got an easy reach to the bars, so you're not going to get backache or anything, because you're not clamshelled over. It's just really nice, isn't it? So let's just put it in neutral and double tap to unlock. We have got some nice features with the little Zontes. The first one is the backlit switchgear. So if I just flick on the ignition here, you can see that you've got this red glow behind the switchgear. So if you are riding the bike in the night, maybe you're doing evening deliveries, then this is really helpful. We've also got fully adjustable levers, so you can adjust the reach to the brake and the clutch lever. That's a nice feature. And then obviously you've got this LCD display, which not that exciting, but is kind of clear and competent. Everything that's there that you need is there basically. Another thing I've noticed about this, initially I haven't taken it out yet, is gosh, the mirrors are good. And that's something that is kind of the bane of motorcyclists' existence really. If you've got crap mirrors, they either vibrate or they're too small. It's just a pain not knowing what's behind you, not having a clear view of the road behind or the road users that are coming up behind you, especially on a 125 as well, because people might potentially be looking to overtake you. So the mirrors actually can rotate back and forward, but there's just a lot of movement in that ball and socket joint, and they're really big. So it's a great bike to learn on. Taking a look at the front, well, first thing I've noticed is this makes an excellent armrest, but you've got big old disc at the front, which obviously is plenty of stopping power for a 125. But you've also got LED lights. You've got this elevated sort of front mudguard like a beak. So if you do take this thing a little bit off-road just for a bit of fun, it's going to do it. Obviously the tyres are there as well. Here you can see you've got the exterior mounted spokes for the alloy. And you've got LED here as well. And of course, the other icing on the cake is you've got keyless ignition on this thing. So as long as you keep your key in a zipped pocket, one commenter wrote on my video that they actually put this in an open pocket of tracksuit bottoms and it fell out onto the road and they'd ridden off before they realised that it had been lost. So keyless ignition is great, but put it in a zipped pocket. That way you ride the bike to where you need to go, lock the handlebars with the lock button, and then just jump off you go, and then the bike won't be rideable by anybody because it's keyless. Right, finally, let's have a look at the bike aesthetically. Obviously, it is built to a price, so it's not going to have the fit and finish perhaps of a more expensive bike. However, all comes together quite nicely as a package. I do like the introduction of the kind of bronze coated forks, handlebars, the clamp, switch gear, levers, mirrors. That bronzy effect does work quite well against this the black. And the engine casing and that kind of thing, which are more of a grey. So yeah, comes together quite nicely. Oh, let's get on it and pretend we're a pillion. Something I never do on my reviews, but oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, don't fall over. Okay, so you're going to be up here if you're a pillion. Which for me, it's probably too small of a bike to have two me's on it. But that's me just sat on it as if I'm just taking it out for a ride. Another cool thing to mention is the fuel filler cap, which you just press a button on the handlebars and it pops open. Once the pillion seat's removed, you can take off the main seat, and there is actually a little bit of space under there to put something, perhaps a toolkit. It's so much fun, honestly. Right, let's try again. Right, we're out on the little Zontes 125, and we're really asking the question, how much fun can you have on a little bike like this? How much fun can you have with 125 cc's, 12 horsepower, but it has to be said, a very cheap, accessible price of £3,499 for a brand new bike. Gotta slow down, even though this is in kilometers an hour. Some eagle-eyed viewer will tell me I'm slightly exceeding the speed limit. Let's get a little bit of fuel. Fill my 125 up with petrol. Okay, into neutral, goes into neutral nice and easy. Now that it's here under the shade, you can see that we've got switch gear that's illuminated. And I'm going to turn off by doing that because there's no key. Check I got my wallet, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Fancy one of those, do you?
Nice, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just out on a little test ride of it.
Where's it from? Grinnell's?
Yeah, little 125 is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it looks smart enough, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the 125's out in my day, but
It's just a commuter really, isn't it? But yeah. Maybe see you later.
around the lanes, isn't it?
Perfect, yeah.
Good.
£3.5 grand?
Oh.
Yeah. Surprising, isn't it? Right. Right, well I put 2.5 litres of fuel in and it's filled half the tank, which I don't quite understand. I think the reserve must be quite big on this. Oh man. Oh, it's just fun, isn't it? Like the turning circle is really sharp. And it slots into gear really nice. How many gears have we got? 6. Now it does have a sport and eco mode for whatever that's worth. Probably not worth a lot, to be honest, on a 125 type of riding mode. It's more of a kind of like gimmick, isn't it, rather than anything. But nevertheless, if you did put it in eco, you're going to get a huge fuel economy. Well, even in sport, you're going to get a massive fuel economy. Now what I like about it is that it feels very, very light, because it is 150 kg fully fueled. The tank I think is 12 litres, and hey mate, and we're doing 80 kph, so about 50 miles an hour. Not getting that much wind blast because obviously it's a naked, so it's clean air. Oh, let's test the brakes. Brake is quite good actually. The front especially got some bite. Let's test the rear. Oh, I can't at the moment because there's someone behind me. I'll pull in and then we'll do some brake testing. Let's go around the corner here. Oh, here you go. Look at this. Indicate. God, whoa. ABS kicking in there. Let this car go round. Off we go. Honestly, it does pull surprisingly well. A tiny bit of capacity. I'm going up a hill, I'm 80 kg and it's accelerating up here. It's good. That's flat out going up a hill. One thing I really like about it though, it's so comfortable. Like I don't feel cramped. The tank actually has sculpted contour here, so your knees tuck into it, which is great. I don't have a reach for the bars, so I'm just so comfortable. I hate bikes where you're like out here, and that's a pain because you're almost bending your upper back, and after 50 miles, 100 miles, that becomes horrible. But this is just great. Let's hit this bend, knee down. Nah, not quite. I didn't have enough corner speed. Right, move over in the seat. Six gears is nice, and the gear change is really sort of, I'd say, supple. Doesn't feel notchy, but doesn't feel vague either. Just feels just nice, really. And as long as you're happy, you know, rolling around at this kind of pace, then what's not to like? Don't know what 40 mile an hour is in kph, so we'll just slow down. Let's do a quick turn around here. See, dropping down through the gears is a piece of cake. And look at that, so easy to maneuver. Pulling away from the junction's a dream. I'm not sure whether I prefer a traditional key here to open the fuel tank rather than the clever sort of gubbins there, But nevertheless, if that is your thing, then it is quite a novelty, isn't it, shall we say. This little system here is quite nice as well, because yeah, it is pretty basic. There's no getting around that, but it's just very functional. Like, you can see everything you need to see. You got revs there climbing slowly, but there's the revs. Speed's the main thing in the middle there. Trip, gear indicator, which helps when you're coming up to a junction or something, and then obviously fuel and time, which needs to be set correctly. What a lovely little thing. One thing to mention is that these hand guards here, not only will they help a little bit if you were to drop the bike, because that will protect your lever from getting snapped, so that's obviously cheaper to replace than this, but they also stop wind blasts. So I've got little thin summer gloves on here, and the problem with these is that they're very supple and dexterous, but you'll get a cold hand very quickly in anything but a summer's day. If you have something to stop the wind coming in, then that's a really nice thing to have, and it's quite inexpensive. You know, you don't need heated grips necessarily. You just need to stop that wind chill factor hitting the top side of your hand. Do you see what I mean? How enjoyable this is though? I'm doing 80 kph, which is what, 50 miles an hour, and I'm out in the English countryside. Just doesn't feel like it's struggling. The engine doesn't feel like it's right at the top of its performance envelope. It's got that, I think it's because it's got that 6th gear, you see. I can keep the revs down and it's just wafting along. So altogether it's actually quite a nice feel, and I don't have much vibration. I mean, how amazing is that? It's that 6th gear, you see. It's keeping the revs down, but if I open the throttle up and increase the speed, I'm still at low rev, so I don't have vibration in the handlebars, the mirrors, the foot pegs. Drop it down to 4, yeah, you hear the engine notes changed, and I've got more vibration. So having that 6 really helps. Okay, so I think I've entered the 30, so that's 50 kph. Let's slow down. Okay, so who should buy this bike? Well, if you're learning, then it could be a bike for you, because a learner bike is not something you keep forever. It's usually passed on quite quickly. There's also not that much to worry about if you were to have a slow speed drop of this bike, because you've got the crash protection here, but also significant protection on the frame. You know, you could drop this, I could probably just stop and drop this bike now and take it back to the dealership, and they wouldn't be that pissed off. I'm not going to test that theory, but basically the bike's going to land here on the bars there. Can you see those under my knee? Whereas they've also got an R18, the BMW R18 with polished cylinder head covers. If you drop that on this side, whew, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune to replace. Whereas this, you're not even going to break your levers or your mirrors because it's so well protected. What I like about it is everything works so well within the performance level that it's in. You know, like the gears go up and down nicely. You know, it doesn't feel, you know, bargain basement. Do a quick shoulder check. The brakes feel good. The brakes are surprisingly powerful. Obviously they're not Brembos, are they? But for what you've got 12 brake horsepower, whatever it is, brings you to a stop surprisingly quickly. And the rest of it just feels quite nice. Like it doesn't labour the engine at higher speeds towards the top of its performance. Oh, there's the horn. And then the switch gear actually feels better than some of the more expensive bikes. Right, well, I'm back from the test ride, and the whole thing just a nice package. It goes into gear really easily. Having 6 gears just works. It's really light, the turning circle when you come out of junctions or petrol stations. just you can just nip out onto the road. It almost makes the road feel bigger because it's so sort of small and nimble. It's just a lovely little thing, and it's comfortable. They've got these nice contours in the tank which seem to fit your knees kind of nice and snugly. Brakes quite good. Like, obviously it's not going to be winning any awards on a racetrack, but if you need to stop in a hurry, the front brake is surprisingly powerful. I mean, it's got 150 kg to rein in still. The other thing I liked about it is the display. Yeah, it's a very basic display, but it's got everything you need there. It's got the gear indicator and the switch gear. Surprisingly, you know, it's quite tactile. You can feel it, and you can also see with the large indicators there when your indicator's on. So I'm probably less likely to leave indicators running on this bike than most other bikes. Yeah, it's obviously, downside to it is that it's a 125. It's not going to blow your socks off performance wise, but it's a nice little proposition. And for me, it makes for a more relaxed riding experience because I'm out and I'm not worried about over exceeding the speed limit. You know, I didn't even have the speedo set to the correct units. I don't really need to worry because it's not going to catapult me into hyperspace like some of the bikes do. You probably get ridiculous fuel economy out of it as well, and I just found it quite comfortable. I don't know if I would have the spoked rims myself. Perhaps the cast would be a little bit easier to keep clean, but for this like naked kind of modern scrambler look, it all kind of comes together quite nicely. There's a few little gimmicky bits on there, like the fuel cap that pops open. They've got this thing called Cool Touch exhaust. So, I mean, that is a safety feature, I suppose, with the youngsters who are going to be riding these bikes, that this shroud here protects your legs. So say you were, which you shouldn't do, but if you were riding it with shorts or something, or you had a pillion and they didn't have the full protective gear on, which is a little bit naughty, but if that was the case, at least you're not going to get burnt from the motorcycle exhaust because it's got this Cool Touch thing. Alright guys, well, I'm going to end the video there. Thanks for watching, and if you do want to ask me anything about this little bike, then write it in the comments, and if you could just drop me a like. It costs you nothing and it helps me out with the algorithm, then I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.